Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me well? Great. Okay, everyone, if you'd like to take a seat, we'd like to welcome everyone to the first youth debate powered by MasterCard. And yesterday, Khaloud was telling me that we are the first private company to hold a youth debate, and hopefully many more. And in particular, it's very exciting that we're doing it at the Youth Hub because we have a strategic partnership here at the Hub. For those of you that don't know, MasterCard is a leading technology company in the global payment space. Our Middle East, Africa headquarters are here in Dubai, and about 2 weeks ago, we were announced as the official payments technology partner of Expo 2020. So we're here today to be a part of a wonderful new initiative by Emirates Youth Council. Youth Debates hopes to create a culture of knowledge in the UAE, and it is the first youth-oriented debating platform in the Arab region. The initiative promotes scientific research and knowledge-based facts, and it ensures that we celebrate others' opinions instead of resisting them. In today's debate, you will have a chance to vote for the winning team. All we ask is for you guys to listen to both teams and both sides. And at the end of the debate, Emirates Youth Council will set up a voting poll on their Instagram account at Emirates Youth, as you can see on the lovely backdrops. And now join me in welcoming our wonderful panel of judges. We have Sham Mohan, who is the Director of Start Path Partnerships with MasterCard Labs. We have Olivia Bellingham, Vice President of Strategy and Analytics in Middle East Africa. And we have Fatma Sejwani, Account Manager for Financial Institutions in the UAE. After the debate, and if time permits, I'm sure that the judges would love to meet all of you, and also for you to understand what they do at MasterCard. So the topic today is an interesting one, and something that's quite often in the news. Will physical cash become obsolete? The affirmative team will agree with the following statement: physical cash will become obsolete, and the competitive team will say that, believe that physical cash will remain. On the affirmative team, we have Mohammed Shafiq, Latif El-Shahi, and Abdurrahman Al-Swaidi. And on the competitive team, we have Abdullah Saleh Bouali, Hamid Karmastaji, and Hamid Youssef. So I now give the floor to the panel of judges for any opening remarks.
Thank you, Yara. Thank you so much for the introduction. Welcome, everybody. We're really excited to be here as MasterCard. As Yara said, this is a topic that's hotly debated within the corridors of our organization. I do want to say that we are completely neutral as a panel of judges on this topic. We are going to be just judging you on the criteria of the scoring rubric, and that's basically three things. So one is the merit of your arguments and counter-arguments. Two is how you use facts and evidence to support your argument. And lastly, respect for the other team. So we're really looking forward to today. Thank you all as well for joining, and we're ready when you guys are.
Great. So I now give the floor to the affirmative team. You can start with your introduction, but remember, no longer than 5 minutes.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. And do we have the timer ready? Perfect. Go ahead.
So first of all, we'd like to thank you all for being here today, our brothers and sisters, distinguished guests. We'd like to thank the youth and Her Excellency Shama Al-Mazroui's office for having this great initiative. So our great leader, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, has a vision where the UAE is the best country globally. A vision once, but now it's becoming a reality. Let me take you back years ago when pearl was considered the white gold of our economy, when currencies were not just standardized when the UAE were trying to find easier ways to trade with one another. With the increase in globalization around the world, physical transactions of currency is to be inevitable and it's obsolete. There's nothing inherently valuable about a dollar or a coin. The only reason that there's any value is because we all decided that they should. Money is about exchanges and transactions we have with one another, the collective value. In an analog world, we deal with set of objects. Money can move with the speed of humans, or cash, as per se. Where in a digital world, money can move much, much faster. But we are in the mercy of the intermediaries, the institutions, and the banks. So money can move with the speed of banks.
The technology today is ripe for going cashless, and we can take China as an example. They have advanced so far to be a cashless society that they included the purchase of near all daily goods and services via Alipay and WeChat. A study by Roger Teddery highlights two key stats regarding the cashless economy in China. WeChat and Alipay payment systems account for 67% of all transactions in the convenience stores in Beijing, and mobile payments have accounted for 74.6% of all payments in China in 2016. This method of payment has become so successful for both the citizen and the economy that the thought of pulling out a wallet in order to pay has become a thing of the past. Moreover, we believe that going cashless is safer for the consumers due to the frequent unhygienic handling of money. While paper currency is made of 75% cotton and 25% linen, that offers enough surface area for bacteria and microorganisms to reside. We tend to forget that physical cash is circulated between shops, restaurants, and etc. That could lead to contamination of food and products that people consume. Personally, I have been working for a charity organization, and counting the physical cash from the charity deposits has always been a hazardous task to perform.
Pleasant morning, ladies and gentlemen. Cash payments promotes tax evasion. How does that work? Tax evasion. Let's take an example of UAE, which has implemented VAT in 1st January 2018. As a customer, if I approach a retailer and I make the payment by cash and he does not raise the tax invoice, there is an underestimate of revenue, which leads to underestimate of tax for the government. This in country, UAE, it's just a 5% VAT, but we are talking about 15 to 20% all over the world. There are retailers who even promotes cash payment to evade tax. So when we are not only talking about VAT, we are also talking about corporate tax. How does that happen? When the sale is not recorded, there is an underestimate of net profit, eventually resulting paying less corporate tax. There's an interesting statement from Europol. All criminals use cash as a payment methods, although all the cash are not used for criminal activities. So making the cash payment also leads to national security. It's a threat to national security, and also promotes security concerns, environment and health issues. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the competitive team to begin the debate with their introduction. You have no more than 5 minutes.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Abdullah Saleh Bali. I work for the Computer Emergency Response Team of the UAE. So we deal a lot with cybersecurity and the security in general of a lot of different things. Cashless society relies heavily on digital systems that may be convenient when they work. I specify work. On June 1st, 2018, Visa's network crashed for almost 6 hours in the region of Europe and the UK, which caused widespread panic of people who heavily relied on being cashless, and they were left cashless. Because of their heavy reliance on the convenience of having a digital wallet, having their currency on their phones and on a contactless card, They were not able to pay for their hospital bills. They were not able to pay for groceries. They were not able to pay for their fuel consumption. The ideas of a cashless economy doesn't rely heavily on how much money you have. Instead, it relies heavily on the systems that make the cashless economy work. And these are digital systems. And working in cybersecurity, working in an IT field, I know you cannot rely on a digital system to be up 24/7. Just a few days ago, I think even yesterday, YouTube went out for 30 minutes. Yes, it's YouTube, but the same infrastructure is used by Google. It's considered one of the strongest infrastructures in the world. And if Google can fail, if Visa can fail, that means it's not about how you use the convenience of cash. It's about when you have to, and the convenience of it is not limited to the security part. And I'd like now to pass the microphone to my partner Hamid.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. My name is Hamid Karmsaji. I'm an accountant in Adna Group of Company. So I'll be talking about that we're gonna go monopolized by MasterCard, Visa, and other companies. The circle. I think everybody have read like books and going to movies that's being talking about that will be led by those kind of people. So are those countries ready to be led by third parties like MasterCard? Let's say the whole country is relied on a third party. So and I'll be talking about the cash could be hacked or limited. Like when I say that you could be cashless, like having no cash, no physical cash. And one of the main issues of the personal financial crisis is credit. And we will be working under credit. So credit, which means using cash that does not even really exist. That's all for my point, and I'm going to pass it to my friend Hamid that he will dig deep on this cash problem.
Hi guys, my name is Hamid. I'm a digital marketeer by profession. I've launched various digital wallets in the region and also launched Al Ittihad Credit Bureau, which is the first credit bureau in UAE. My debate would be primarily on not everyone can afford to go cashless because it comes with a digital or cashless society, and it relies to having a mid to high range mobile phone or a credit card. We all know phones' batteries life do not last more than 18 hours, mostly, right? So although NFC is a contactless payment, it does not really solve the problem of having big data or even a battery life for that matter. People without bank accounts will find themselves further marginalized, disenfranchised, and also the infrastructure is pretty much not really ready for it. These are also poorly understood psychological implications about cash encouraging self-control, and also while paying by card or a mobile phone can encourage spending. The whole point of our debate is primarily usage of cash, and we'll get to that hopefully in the next session. So.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the affirmative team for their first response, which should be no longer than 3 minutes.
Abdullah Ba'ali, I need to reply to you on the statement that you made on how banks can lose your the electronic cash. It's electronic cash, they can lose that, or they can not lose that in general, but not have it available for you at the moment. Although physical cash cannot be available for you, also, since banks usually use the money they saved as like an investment or trading with like increasing their investments. And if something happened during that time and a lot of people wanted to pull out their cash, even if it was a physical form, it will be difficult. But also another thing that Abdullah stated is how systems can fail. Well, your car can fail also, and anything can fail. There is always uncertainty, and that's how society advances. We learn from our mistakes, and we try to fix them.
Yes, we were talking about the convenience. We do agree that the systems do fail, and we cannot trust the system all the time, and we cannot expect upload time of 24/7. Recently in India, the Prime Minister has demonetized all 1,000 rupees currencies and 500 rupees note, and that has led to a very problem for the hassle for the people of India. But what is the result of that? That's the question. 235 million of people have started to use the Paytm, the digital currency. That's a key point. And this has been used by even a small petty shops. So they have started to move, realize the need of the hour, and started to use the digital currency, because that's the future of the finance industry. That's what we believe. We don't believe that cash is going to obsolete enough, but definitely that's the future.
One more point. In Kenya, the local mobile company, Safaricom, has introduced a mobile paying for the less fortunate, as you mentioned. It's known as M-Pesa, that allows customers to make their payments directly from their mobile phones. So you don't need smartphones for that. You can just send a message for free.
I now give the floor to the competitive team for their first response.
Abdurrahman Swedi, I know you were speaking about health hazards, but I'm pretty sure you know restaurants have to use gloves, right? And if you work in charities and you're worried about your hands being contaminated, you can use gloves, right? And there was a lot of talk about tax evasion using physical cash. Tax evasion can also occur using Bitcoin, a digital currency that's deregulated. We can speak about regulating Bitcoin, we can speak about regulating these digital currencies, and we can also speak about government-issued digital currencies. But the truth is, you will still have tax evaders. And even with tax evasion, there's a reason why we know about tax evasion. It's because they get caught. And the system does work. In both systems, it does work. And when we talk about Sheikh Mohammed's vision, I agree. Sheikh Mohammed's vision is an amazing, innovative vision. But when it comes to the security of the people, when everyone feels included in that vision, that's when Sheikh Mohammed's vision is truly available and is alive. Because no one's right now, why we're not in a cashless society isn't because we're not ready, but because not everyone can be included. And that's the whole point of a vision, making sure the inclusion of everyone. And we're talking about being in the mercy of banks. Again, we speak about, we're not even in the mercy of banks when we go digital. We're in the mercy of 4 different things. We're in the mercy of Visa or MasterCard. We're in the mercy of banks themselves. We're in the mercy of digital infrastructure. 3 different things. And when I have my cash, I'm at the mercy of how much cash do I have in my wallet. And you mentioned China, WeChat, going 70%. And I've seen that documentary. Most of them do not even accept cash. But what happens when, fine, WeChat stops working? It doesn't have a bigger infrastructure than Google. What happens when your mobile service provider, let's say Etisalat, stops connecting you to the internet, which happened countless times. And in March 2018, Gulf News Etisalat had to release a press announcement saying that for the next 3 months, you may have interruptible services. And finally, currencies not being standardized. Well, yeah, we have different currencies. And the lady spoke about the value of money being based on what we think about it. It's actually, no, the economy does not work that way. It's not because I think this is $1 and this is worth 3.67 dirhams. That's the actual value. It relies on actual economics. It relies on trade. It relies on supply and demand. It relies on foreign policy. It's not just I decided. It's the world decided based on multiple factors.
Moreover, to add to my friend, that currencies are related to gold, silver, and oil. So there is a real thing going back to
Sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off. Your 3 minutes are up. I now give the floor to the affirmative team for their second response.
There is a point made by the opposition team that credit is cash that does not exist. Well, as for credit, it allowed for people to have opportunity and invest in money and make themselves grow economically. And Abdullah, I tried that. I tried the gloves, but from the sharp residue of included in the coins and the money, they just ripped my gloves off. So.
The other team talked about what is cash. Yes, it's connected to trade, it's connected to other things, but it's the value we perceive. Over time, we see forms of currency changing. We used to trade cattle. We used to trade using pearls. Now we move to using cash as a tool to exchange things. In the future, it's going to be digital. You touched briefly on cryptocurrencies or bitcoins. So right now, Sweden, which is one of the world's best economies in all the sectors, we as a government benchmark them as leading nations. So the central bank, they are trying to consider a central bank currency, cryptocurrency called eCora. So if one of the leading economies are moving to a digital economy, anything can fail, as my colleague said. But our security is becoming better. We are learning from our mistakes, and the future is being digital.
Just to add on the tax evasion point, it's interesting to note that the European Central Bank has decided to stop producing 500 euro notes in 2018 to counter the terrorist funding. So if we believe that cash is not helping to tax evade the tax or fund the terrorist, then that's why the Europe Central Government has done this. So to add this, we as a national security, it's a threat. The cash has been used by the criminals to fund the terrorists, and also it also questions the national security of the countries in the world. So what we are trying to do is digitalizing, becoming that economy should be transparent. That's the point, and which leaves the trails for all the transactions that's taking place. Thank you.
Just a final point. Why do we become a digital economy? It's because there's the necessity of the people. As we see more countries moving to that, because people need more convenience. People need to save time than going and moving cash by hand. Today you can go to a coffee shop and share the bill with your friends using Splitwise or apps such as that. So that's what going digital saves the people and the economy of the nation.
Thank you, Latifa. I now give the floor to the competitive team for their second response.
Yes, to continue for my financial view, so I think your way will lead to a financial crisis, regardless, because we were trading a real gold. The cash money is a real gold moving, oil movement. There is a physical thing moving. So if you have the same idea, we're going to your way. It's much easier, I think, yeah? Everybody's using it. And my friend Hamid will continue.
I guess this is the final best for the last. To start up on 3 points, primarily demonetization. Demonetization happened in India, yes, you're right. People were on the roads, yes, you're right. This was because of the banks. The banks did not have a proper infrastructure to display cash. Cash is why they were standing out. That's why when you said 25 million, those people were waiting for cash, not for credit. M-Pesa. M-Pesa is something that I've really much deep dived on, and M-Pesa also had an outage because the network went out. So if at all you're sending an SMS and the SMS doesn't go through, that basically displaces cash. My third bit was basic about tax evasion. A very interesting point. Yes, it does have tax evasion, but then you also need to understand that cash is something that you need to primarily hold with you. You might have an issue of evading tax, but let's say right now, before we leave this room, if you spend more than 3 hours at the Emirates Stars, you wouldn't be able to leave the building without paying cash, because the parking meters downstairs do not accept credit. So this is one of the most important things why you need to have cash, and that's about it.
I now leave the floor to the panel of judges to ask questions to both teams for 15 minutes.
First of all, amazing discussion, valid arguments, and good evidence-based session. So that's good. So the question that I have for you is, you spoke about Sweden going the crypto route, right? The topic here is will physical cash become obsolete? It's open-ended in the sense that we are not talking about a timeline, or the question is not about when it will become obsolete, or about where, right? So yes, you are talking about a few examples from the developed markets, but what about those underdeveloped markets in, let's say, Africa and Asia? So would you want to touch upon how the evolution of payments in those markets would be according to you?
Okay, so thank you for your question. I think it's interesting to see how as nations become richer. Today, the United Nations has launched the Sustainable Development Goals of 2030. As we all know, leave no one behind. So that's the vision of the United Nations, and as UAE is being a part of that, some of the main pillars is infrastructure, as you mentioned. Not having the right infrastructure. Today, the universal financial assets by 2020, it's saying that it's going to spend around $1 billion to get cash, the right infrastructure to that parts of the world. And that's in collaboration with the World Bank. So we see that trend moving from a higher level, from the whole world is moving to that cashless economy. Mohammed, do you have...
So there is an interesting scheme brought forward by the World Bank, which is UFA 2020. What does that say? That it will provide 1 billion people, underprivileged people, and they will bring those people into the channel of digital economy. What does that make? Says that the 1 billion people will have basic transaction accounts. So they can deposit the money, use the bank facilities, and with very less charges. So even the World Bank is concentrating on those things. So we feel that definitely it's a movement towards digitalizing the economy and making the life on the earth easier for every people.
Right. Thank you very much for the discussion. I have two questions, actually, one for this team and one for the affirmative. Let's start here since you had a chance to talk. So just have a question about the point that you made with regard to being under the mercy of banks, technology like MasterCard, Visa, and other facilitators that are part of this model. Now, we actively see central banks doing partnerships or even building their own thing, like the ADW wallet. For instance, the Saudi government has a partnership with MasterCard on their Sama thing. Would you believe that such partnerships then will give central bank the control that they have today, very much the control that they have in cash, they'll give it the control they have on digital payments? And will this then reduce the risk that you perceive of becoming cashless?
We did read about the EW wallet, and that was one of the things that we expected the opposing team to mention. But the central bank, that is actually a big collaboration by central bank, but it's the goal, and it states going cashless. But at the same time, we still think that the infrastructure will still need to be there, because when you're talking about the central bank collaborating, they will still need to have the digital infrastructure, which they might have to rent from Google, which they might have to rent from all of these different kind of platforms. And that's where the risk for us is. When you don't physically have it, you're basically cashless kind of thing. So it's in a cashless society, you can easily go cashless, not because you don't have the money, but because different kind of infrastructures are not ready or failed you.
Just to add on to that, it's all about believing in collaboration and not competition. Since most of the 8 banks or plus banks have collaborated to build this particular platform, BankFab started with Pay8 wallet, which is a digital wallet, which I had launched in this region. And the rating of that is 1.8 on Google. reason being that it was not about collaboration, it was competition. We believe in collaboration, yes, but that also means that central bank will work with cash, and MasterCard, Visa service providers will work towards a cashless society. And that will always be a brilliant collaboration, but not about competing and going completely cashless. So, yeah.
So my question now to the affirmative team. You spoke about tax implications of going cashless, about how it aids the growth of economies, and how then this is associated with using less cash. So are you making now the conclusion that societies go immediately cashless as they grow, or is it that going cashless will help the society grow?
Okay, so we believe as a team that it's all coming from necessity of convenience. So people need to go cashless. That's why it's changing now in the region. So we see trends all around the world, and in the UAE as whole, we have a lot of new technologies being proposed. A lot of people are now transferring through banks and online payments. And it is also changing in the region of the Arab world. Where comes this question? We see some countries, actually, the average number of cash being produced by the central banks is decreasing. Like, for example, we have Sweden. Cash is being minusly printed. So the government, how much it's getting, the central bank is printing the money, it's getting less and less each year. So what does that say about the cashless economy of the futures?
And I have a question to the team here.
Can we add on this, if you don't mind? Yeah, please, thank you. So when we are talking about the social impact, the technology that can bring, let me tell you something very personal. My grandmother used to send me enough in WhatsApp, Assalamu alaikum, hi, how are you? And this was not happening previously. I mean, like 3 or 4 years back or 5 years back. So this is the need of the hour. I can just communicate to her and just know what he's doing and how well she is. So mobile or digitalizing the economy would have the same effect on the economy, because it's, after all, used by everybody, irrespective of age. So if I want to just put in front a statistics from a Statista, the mobile phone technology is a lifeline to the unbanked, and it is expected to grow 62.9% of the world population using mobile technology. So this is expected to grow dramatically in 1 or 2 years down the line as well. So it has a very valid social impact, and I believe that this also will affect or revolutionize the social, the fintech or the financial economy as well.
Personally, going cashless has always been better for me. It's very convenient and safe. Pulling out my wallet and to look for change and just like to talk to the shop merchant and he telling me that I don't have change is just like a bit troublesome for me. So it's very easy for me to just pick up my phone and swipe, buy something. It gives me some excitement when I buy something, or like a bit faster, like a faster decisions on what I'm looking at. And some of the problems that I see when I go to like certain shops here in the UAE is when they are taking only physical and they don't have the price tag on some products. I, for a fact, do not know if that's the true price of that product and if the actual value of the tax is implemented on that product. So I found that to myself like as an annoyance on some type of way.
So I want to touch upon the convenience factor of digital payments in general, and specifically about, let's say, a person who is traveling in a job that takes him to different countries. So exchanging currencies is definitely a problem, where you have to handle cash from different countries, but when it comes to digital payments, it's an easier experience. So what are your thoughts towards that? Do you think such convenience factors will actually aid in the adoption of digital payments, or will people still prefer cash in a scenario where there are different other elements at play?
So just starting with, I think one of the most important things is also personal experience. I travel at least 6 to 7 times a year. And there was a moment last time when me and my family, we traveled and had a stopover in Azerbaijan. And I did not have any way to pay for a bottle of water for my baby. It's not about getting any kind of emotional, but it's just that this was something that happened with me because I did not carry cash, because I relied on a credit card. As millennials, we love paying by our mobile Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or credit cards. But again, when it comes down to certain things like these, where not every country is equipped with a credit card facility or with an Apple Pay facility or any contactless facility for that matter, it kind of gets inconvenient. So that would be my response to you. And also, my brother Hamad would have another answer for that.
Yeah, it's kind of a same, like a personal experience. It was with MasterCard. So I will talk about 2 things. The first thing, that when I'm using my card, at every swipe, you will let me pay at a rate, and you will take an amount of money out of me. So it's more money to pay. Let's think financially, okay? And the other thing, I used it in Geneva, Paris, London. 3 different places, and one of the main cities in the world. And believe me, it was not supported. It was like, I had like 2,000 francs, 4,000 euros, or 4,000 pounds in the same card. So I took it out of the currency exchange shop. And I used it. So I want to use the card. They told me it's easier to do it. And believe me, it was 1 out of 3 shops that was supported by MasterCard or by any other cards. And believe me, that was in 2014. It wasn't a long time ago. Everybody was using. And in US, they used to swipe cards in 2009. And I'm talking about Europe. We're in UAE. Think about that.
Thank you. You guys touched on, oh, sorry, did you have another?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment again. It is convenient when it works. That's what we're saying. I'm a millennium. I don't carry, just because I'm saying I'm against going cashless, doesn't mean I'm half cash, I carry 3 or 4 or 5,000 dirhams. I still love to use my Apple Pay. I still love to use my credit card contactless. When I'm abroad, I do use it heavily. But same thing, not every place supports being contactless. And the idea is, it's convenient when it works. When it's not, you are left literally cashless.
Thank you. You guys touched on Bitcoin earlier. Latifa, I think you mentioned Bitcoin. I wanted to talk about that. So in a cashless world where we're operating with digital currencies, have you guys thought about the currency of the future and how that looks? Is that a national digital currency that each country has, similar to how you have a dirham today, a dollar, a euro? Or do you see these third-party companies, let's say like a Bitcoin, being the currency of the future? How do you see that playing out?
We believe that the cryptocurrency is still it's in an infancy stage. I mean, if you look at the transaction speed of Bitcoin rather than credit cards or like MasterCard and Visa, it's way like the difference is a lot, and there is still some room for development. Although there are some issues like some anonymous payments, how it's not being able to track, but that's a way. Like if you would want to go cashless, if you want to go, if you're concerned about your privacy, you would go Bitcoin or like a cryptocurrency. If you're not concerned about your privacy and not having a lot of thought about it, you can go with the banks. like it's a matter of choice, and it's not, people are not forced to go with Bitcoin, even though a lot of people do with its current state.
I think that this, right now we cannot predict the future of digital currency, and it all depends on regulations and the legislation of the country. So we cannot just predict and say that this is going to be the internationally one currency that's going to prevail at the end. But the future is exciting, and we look forward for the digitalizing of the economy.
Will the governments create bitcoins, or will it be other third parties? We see that the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency environment gives us a new platform to have more privacy, and we have a general ledger, etc. But will cryptocurrency be the end of banks? That's the question. So where we see governments are going, some governments are taking the initiative to create their own cryptocurrency, like Sweden. And we see other partners and other forms of Bitcoin coming out every day, and so it's a competition. It's the supply and demand, and it's which is the most convenient for the people.
So I'd like to thank the judges for their great questions. I'm going to give the floor to the competitive team to wrap up their final arguments, and they have 3 minutes to do so.
Well, when we're to wrap up, we're not saying going cash. Us opposing cashless means that we don't use cashless methods. We're millennials. We use credit cards. We use contactless. We use Apple Pay. But I know deep down that I will have to have cash with me, because when convenience doesn't work, I will have to rely on cash. And when I'm going to leave this building, if I don't have any cash, I cannot leave, because all of the payment methods are only cash, which says a lot about trying to go cashless right now.
I don't want to take out much time, but just say one thing. It's like my brother Abdullah said, the whole gist of this is all about having collaboration over competition. I'm not saying that we will completely go cashless. I'm not saying that we will also not use cash. This is something that is one of the most important things of life, that we'll have to work in collaboration. We'll have to use our Apple Pay when you're buying your coffee from Starbucks, and you'll have to pay for cash when you're exiting this building. So that's going to be your relationship for quite some time. And like I said, it's an open-ended thing, like Mr. Sham said. It is an open-ended thing. There's no year set to it. You'll always have a mixture of a credit card and a cash in your wallet that will make it bulky, and also have NFC on your mobile to do payments.
I now give the floor to the affirmative team for their final arguments. 3 minutes.
In the end, the future of money is less likely to be determined by these arguments than to be shaped by the success of technologies, making it easier for us to pay for our daily coffee without taking out our wallets. With the world, with the digital transformation of services, cash is becoming obsolete. The age of the digital, the age of the new realities and horizons, the age of tomorrow is upon us. We see Dubai having initiatives such as the blockchain strategy, the paperless government strategy, many great launches of applications such as the UAE Pass, saves time and effort for the citizens, increasing our quality of life and making us a happier nation. The UAE is currently the #1 regionally in over 10 international reports. However, by 2020, our leader's vision is the UAE to be among the best country, but not just regionally, even globally. Also, our country launched a campaign to be the best country in the world in all aspects of life by 2071. And we believe going cashless is a way of tomorrow.
The thing is, like cash. I mean, we know that going cashless would not always work, and we know that's a big issue for us society. although we have came so far from trading commodities to bonds, from banks to cash, and now we're going digital. So we need to move. We need to move in that direction at some time. Maybe not now, but maybe when the infrastructure is made for it, we would go, and it would be obsolete. And I believe that. Our country represents change, and a change for the better. And we strive to be the best country in the world by 2071. One of the key goals set by 2071 centennial is to have the best economy. And to have that, we need to go cashless. And we strongly believe that going cashless is the way to achieve that goal.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you all live without oxygen? Yes or no, please? No, but we can live without cash. In a world where there 3 billion people are connected online, vehicles can drive themselves, appliances can communicate, the payment gateway is tech in this era. So it's a need of the hour. The technology should be developed. And my friend itself, Mr. Abdullah and Yusuf has been saying that they use and they love Apple Pay. So it's a matter of convenience. It's a matter of time. The question is whether cash will become obsolete. Not now, but definitely yes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great morning. So Emirates Youth Council has opened the polls for voting on their Instagram account at Emirates Youth. So you just go to the highlights and you'll be able to vote there. You can ask after. We'll check with the Youth Hub team or the Youth Debates team. I don't think it would work like that on Instagram, but let me check with the team now. Interesting. So it's in the highlights. It's the first one. It's written in Arabic. Yeah. Do you see it now? Hit refresh. I also just want to take this time while everyone's voting to know that MasterCard holds workshops and seminars about once a quarter at the Youth Hub. So it'd be great to know what kind of topics you want to hear about, or another potential youth debate of something that would be of interest. Also, just to note that the judges will take the vote into consideration, but they have the final verdict.
Again, thank you very much for your engagement and both sides and the audience into this. Just to announce the results that we got from the Instagram polls, 55% were with the affirmative team and 45% with the competitive team. So it's quite close. Having a discussion with the judges as well, I personally am very close also in terms of how I rated both. I think both of you did a very good job. Thank you very much for all the prep, all the research you have put into this, all your thoughts. I mean, it's very exciting to hear your insights about it. Personally, I also had my marks were slightly just higher for the affirmative team, so I agree with the polls that were made. Mainly, so two reasons why I decided that they should be the winning team. First of all, they had additional examples globally. They covered China, Kenya, Sweden, so that they gave a global view of the situation. So that kind of really helped and showed that different markets are able to do it, and that's what really made me feel that theirs is more logical. Leave it to Olivia to share her thoughts.
Thank you, Fatma. Yeah, I echo everything she said. Your guys' preparation was outstanding. It was clear that the 6 of you really understood the topic and that you had done a lot of research and you'd really thought through many angles of it. So both of you guys top marks on understanding the topics. That was excellent. In the end, again, it was a very close call, but I have gone with the affirmative team as my winner. And very, very close. I'll tell you what made the difference for me. As Fatma said, the use of facts, so the research they had done where they could cite specific countries, specific numbers, specific figures, I think that gave their argument more weight. And the second thing was I found that there were a couple of things in your guys' argument that I felt were factually incorrect. And that's what kind of tipped me to say, okay, if a few of the facts I feel are incorrect in your argument, then I would lean there. And I'll just give you an example, talking about how currency is backed by gold or by oil. Factually, that's incorrect. It used to be that way many years ago, and then, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago, or maybe more now, that was broken. And so currency now is really just what we perceive it to be. It has no inherent value. So because of those 1 or 2 small things, I decided to go with the affirmative team. But thank you guys. Well done. Well done, guys.
Thank you. It was a great experience to come out of our day jobs and to listen to, you guys speak and give some wonderful arguments. So congratulations, well done, and all the best for, all your future endeavors. In terms of the results, even I have a very close margin with the results in the scores, but it's slightly higher towards the affirmative side. Again, primarily because of the fact that I like that they use statistics in their arguments. So in any debate, I would prefer if a lot of numbers are given and a number of evidences are given. So that's something which helped them get a slightly higher edge. And again, the example that Olivia mentioned, so about currencies being backed, I think that's changed. So as she said, in the US, it's no more backed by commodities. It's all fractional reserve banking. And so is the case in Europe and in some other markets as well. So yeah, but in the end, I think it was a good debate and a very relevant topic. So you guys did a lot of good research, and all the best.
Great. Thank you guys so much. It was such an exciting morning, especially to be out of the office as well and to hear all of your insights. I thank everyone for coming out today, and we hope to hold other youth debates. And also please come by to the Youth Hub to check out our workshops by MasterCard. I ask both teams and the judges if we can take a photo, and have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.